My daughter can't forgive me for leaving her father and promised to make my life a living hell. Last night she tried to seduce my husband. He tells me now to choose between him or my daughter. I, of 34, left my ex-husband, M48, 4 years ago. He was abusive and cheated on me throughout our relationship, but I stayed for my daughter. One day he told me that he had a girlfriend and to accept the situation. This was 4 years ago when my daughter was 11. My daughter never knew about any of this. She was a happy little child, and while my ex-husband was a crappy husband, he loves our daughter and she loves him. He gave her an amazing childhood. When we divorced, my daughter was in shock. Nothing was like it's supposed to be anymore. We didn't have a bitter custody battle even if the divorce was messy and my husband simply refused to divorce, but it was never the same for our daughter. My ex-husband moved in his girlfriend soon after I moved out, and while she is not a bad person, my daughter didn't like her. But most of the blame was on me. She hated the fact that I left her dad. Eventually I started telling my daughter why I left, age-appropriately, but it didn't change her view on me being the one who ruined her happiness. When I married my husband, M31, a year ago, she promised me to turn my life a living hell. And she kept her word. She wouldn't listen to me. She did all the opposite things to what I asked of her, and she ignored her stepdad, completely blaming him for the divorce, saying that I cheated on her father with him. I met my husband 2 years after I separated from my ex-husband. She called me selfish and she said parents should do whatever for the happiness of their children. I found out that I was pregnant about 3 weeks ago. My husband was so happy that he made a reservation for my daughter and I in a fancy restaurant to celebrate our first anniversary and the baby. My husband started telling me how this year has been the happiest he ever lived, and he promised me more happy years, and I started treating up, and so did he. I know it is lame and embarrassing for a teenager to hear this, but I was just so happy. My daughter made a scene and stormed out, threatening to ruin me. Last night I was at work. I'm an ER doctor, when my husband called me and his voice was shaking. He said that when he was going to bed, he found my daughter exposed in bed, telling him nobody needed to know. He came to my work and he looked like all the blood was drained from him. He didn't even try to be polite anymore. He kept saying he was tired, he hated my daughter, and he never wanted to see her in our home again. He told me that she threatened to report him for SA if he told anybody, because who would believe him. I couldn't take the rest of the day off, so I asked him to stay at his sister's house. When I was home in the morning, my daughter was sleeping. I woke her up and she didn't even apologize and tried to blame him, calling him a weirdo. I confiscated all her devices. I saw that she had hidden her phone in my bedroom trying to film herself seducing my husband. I saw how he started shouting and everything. When I confronted her, she started crying and apologizing. My husband told me that she could move in with her father, the one she loved so much. The one she thought was so flawless. He is single now, so she can't hate on his significant other. I told him that I couldn't. She is my daughter and I can't just throw her out. He said then we are over. I'm so heartbroken, stuck between a rock and a hard place.